Sometimes it's not easy to see the stumbling blocks that trip us up or that get in the way of us leading a wholesome, productive, prosperous way of life. Because these things become so intertwined with all the other good things in our life, and they mask themselves or they mirror these positive elements such that they become imposters. The drinking, the celebrating, the partying, the oversleeping, the staying up late, the junk food, all of these negative activities, they're not overtly negative, certainly not at first, such that they intertwine and get tangled up with all the other positive things in our life. And it's hard to separate them out, hard to parse the good from the bad. Easy example is drinking alcohol. So when we drink, typically, most people drink when they're out having a good time with friends, or you're having drinks with your wife or your girlfriend when you're out to a nice dinner, or you're celebrating a friend's birthday, you're having some drinks. You go to an event, you're having a few beers, you're having a few glasses of wine. You watch sports, you watch football, you watch some baseball, you watch some basketball, you're having some drinks, you go to the sports bar. We end up using alcohol to enhance the experience. And so it gets so meshed within the good time that we're having that we don't see the creep, the vines that run up our leg and entangle us until we're trapped. Because again, it becomes indistinguishable from the experience itself. Your drinking becomes inseparable from the good times that you're having, from the positive times, the positive experiences you're having with friends and loved ones. And so it becomes very difficult to remove that stumbling block because it's an imposter. It's masked in those other joyous, positive, wholesome, productive experiences. Friends, family, birthdays, events where you're surrounded by loved ones. But this revelry has a dark side, and you don't see it until it's too late. And then it becomes, for some, nigh on impossible to tear out of your life without disrupting, without caving in, without wrecking all the other good things. You don't know where to begin. You don't know how to do it. How do you go out with your friends where they're all drinking? How do you go out to a sports bar and watch a football game with your friends and everyone's drinking, have a good time, and you're not having any drinks? How do you do that? You don't know how because you've never done that. It becomes inseparable from the experience. You go out to dinner with your girlfriend and she's having a couple glasses of wine and you're not, you don't know how to engage in the activity, to engage in the conversation, to engage in the experience without having that enhancement. Because for a long time, you didn't recognize it as an issue, and it became interwoven and indistinguishable. This is like the the parable that Yahusha tells us about how you had a man, a good man, who sowed good seed, sowed wheat on his land. And while he slept, the adversary, the enemy, the evil, came and sowed bad seed amongst his good seed. Amongst the wheat that the man had sown, the adversary came and sowed darnel. And as the crop began to grow, slowly but surely, because the thing about darnel is that it's indistinguishable. In the early stages, it's indistinguishable from the wheat. It looks exactly like wheat. But it is a destructive, evil, useless weed. And it wrecks your crop because it becomes tangled within it. It becomes ruined. It just gets in the way, and it makes everything difficult. And as the workers of the land start to notice that, wait a second, amongst this good wheat, we're seeing what looks like the weed, the evil, destructive, poisonous darnel. And they go to the man who owns the land, who planted the crop. And they say to him, hey, listen, we see that there's darnel amongst the wheat. I thought you planted good seed amongst the crop, on the land. We thought you planted only good seed. And the man says, while I was sleeping, the enemy must have come and mixed in the evil, destructive, poisonous seed amongst my good wheat. And they said, what should we do? Should we gather it up and get it out of here? And the man tells him, no, don't do that. Lest all of the good wheat, a lot of the good wheat gets tangled up within it, and you pull up the good with the bad, and in the process destroy both. Wait till it's all fully harvested, because here's the thing. You only really get to see the darnel in all its stark, harsh, poisonous ugliness when it's fully mature. Because up to a point it looks exactly like the wheat, and only slowly as it starts to grow and develop and mature, do you really start to see which is wheat and which is darnel, which is the evil weed. And so the man says, wait until it's time to harvest, because then you'll see the wicked from the good. And then what you can do is you can go out, you can pull up only the darnel. Now obviously that's going to be a difficult task, but it's going to be a lot easier because you can see it. But you pull up all the poisonous, all the useless, all the wicked seed, all that has now become the weed itself, the darnel, fully blossom. You can see it. Tear it all up, put it into the furnace and burn it. And all that will be left is the good fruit. As Yahusha, the Son of the Most High, our Savior, our Redeemer, our Deliverer, Yahuwah himself, the Most High himself, the Supreme Elohim, he who breathes life, he who creates, he who brings all into existence, manifested in the flesh, as Yahusha says in that parable, that the son of Adam, the son of man, Yahusha, will send his messengers to gather up the wicked from amongst the good and cast them into the fire to be burned up. And there will be wailing and gnashing of teeth in the end times, in the final judgment. But it's, as the people are toing and froing, as the population grows, as the people go about their business, sometimes it's hard to pick out the good from the bad because it all gets so entangled. But as this world builds to a crescendo of decadence, depravity, defilement, debasement, as the demons of this world, as the evil whisperers of this world, as the corrupters, the evildoers, the misleaders and deceivers poison the people, Hashatan, Lucifer, the Lord of flies, the Lord of filth that rules over this illusion, as he overtakes more and more and more of the people, as more of the people become soaked and steeped and drowning in evil and sin and depravity, only then will you start to see the truly wicked from the wholesome and the good. Because just as those who become toxic and poisoned with evil and sin, wallowing, reveling in their depravity, so too do those who receive Yahuwah, Yahusha, and walk with him in the light, start to convert, start to see the light, start to hear the word, start to know and understand Yahuwah, Yahusha, and his grace and his glory. And at that time, in the times of trial and tribulation, no one knows the time of the hour, but at that time, in the end, it will be easy for Yahuwah, Yahusha, to wipe away all of the wicked and evil from this world, leaving only the good in his reign. And so too in our lives, these stumbling blocks, the staying up late, the partying, the drugs, the alcohol, the junk food, the oversleeping, the laziness, the procrastination, all of the things that are getting in the way of you being prosperous and healthy and strong and resilient, dynamic and robust, filled with his healing energy, his healing love, his healing joy. All those stumbling blocks are like darnel. They're masked. They're intertwined with the good things in your life. So it's very difficult to separate them until it gets to a place where it becomes extremely difficult to tear it away. But at some point, you recognize, you start to see how it is hindering you, how it is crippling you, how it is cutting you off at the knees, how it is stopping you from realize your true potential. Only then, when the alcohol that you're drinking in all these wonderful times that you're having with friends and family, that initially appeared to be an enhancement, a party favor, something that made the experience more enjoyable, now becomes something that you cannot ignore any longer, is poisoning you, is destroying you, is hobbling you. And you desperately want to tear it away and cast it into the fire and be done with it. But it becomes so difficult because it is metastasized amongst the good. It has become entangled with the good. But at some point, hopefully, the poisonous seed will blossom to the degree that it is impossible for you to ignore. And only then, when you see it in all its stark ugliness and darkness, when you see it for the poison and the toxin it is, then will you be able to tear it away. And sometimes the only way for you to realize this, even though innately you know you shouldn't be doing it anymore, again, it isn't fully blossomed. It isn't in stark relief to the good in your life. It doesn't stand out such that you have no choice any longer but to cast this bad habit, this stumbling block in your life, this thing that is preventing you from being the best you can be, and ejecting it from your being until you put yourself in a position where it is plain as day. So I used to drink about let's go back 9 years ago, before I got diagnosed with cancer for the first time. 2 times I've been hit with cancer, tumors. One in my kidney, we ripped that in the kidney out. It was a giant tumor sitting on my left kidney. Tore that out. Oh, over 8.5 years ago now. Just about that. And then that same cancer, that same kidney cancer went into my liver. That's over 2 years ago now. We tore a piece of my liver out. Got that. Yahusha has healed me of all these things. I'm still here, absolutely motivated, inspired, encouraged, ejecting all the poisons from my life with the help of Yahusha. But I used to drink 4 times a week. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then at least one day during the week with friends, with coworkers. So that's 4 times a week drinking. 3 drinks, 4 drinks, 5 drinks, 6 drinks. Beer, usually beer. I would have on a Saturday 8 pints of beer. On a Sunday, 8 pints of beer. Right? But I was having a great time. Slowly wrecking myself, slowly poisoning myself, slowly destroying myself, keeping me from being the best that I can be. But it enhanced the experience, and it became so tangled in the weeds with my good times, I couldn't see it for what it was. But after a long time of not drinking, over these past 8.5 years, about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I started having a glass of wine here and there. Not a lot. Maybe on a Saturday, I would have 2 glasses of wine. Maybe on a Saturday, or 3 glasses of wine. That was it. Wasn't even a lot any longer. And then I went, and then I would go maybe a month or 2 months without having a drink. And again, it was usually wine, a couple of glasses of wine. We're going back now about 4 or 5 years ago. I would go I'd go a couple of months without having a glass of wine. And one of these times, this is now going back about 2.5 years ago. About 2.5 years ago. I hadn't had a drink in about a couple of months. Maybe more. Maybe it was 3 months. And I go out with my family. And I have just about 2 drinks, or maybe 2.5. I have a martini. I have maybe 3/4 of a martini. And I have maybe a glass or a glass and a half of wine. And the next day, I felt as if I have been poisoned by the worst toxin, the worst chemical, the worst venom you could ever imagine. I felt so horrible. And I said to myself, what am I doing? I am literally consuming evil such that I felt wrecked. And even though it wasn't a lot, because I hadn't had a drink in a few months, I was able, in stark relief, in harsh reality, in an impossible to ignore way, what I was actually doing to myself when I was drinking, what it was actually doing to my body, to my organs, to my cells, to my mind, to everything. It was disintegrating me. It was corrupting me. It was tearing me apart. It was withering me away. It was sucking the life out of me. It was absolutely like the worst venom injected into your veins that you could imagine. And this is just 2.5 drinks. Imagine having 6, 7, or 8. And that was it. That was the last time I drank. That was over 2.5 years ago. I have no taste for it. I have no interest in it. And sometimes this is what it takes. It takes you going without, separating yourself from these stumbling blocks for a long enough period of time such that you can clearly recognize the darnel from the wheat, the poisonous fruit from the good fruit, the light from the dark. It takes you being able to have the strength and the fortitude and the willpower to push away, to reject the junk food, the toxic, poisonous, chemical-laden, syrupy, fake, sweet, sludge-like, man-made, oily crap that we call food, the constructed, fake, can't even call it food. This garbage, this garbage that is dressed up and disguised, like all the stumbling blocks in our life, dressed up and disguised, masquerading as food, built on chemicals that have been tested and proven to fool our sense of smell, to fool our taste buds, to fool our eyes with brilliant colors, such that we consume it and we become addicted to it, whether it's drugs, it's junk food, it's alcohol, it's oversleeping, it's staying up late, procrastinating, the laziness, all the pornography, you name it, all the things that get in your way from being your best self, from stop you from living as an example for your people, that keep you from being strong and resilient and dynamic and robust. You need to separate yourself from it for just long enough so that the minute you do it again, the after effects of it leave you reeling. The side effects of it become so stark that you can no longer ignore it. That you feel not just the guilt, not just the shame, but you actually feel the horror of what you're doing to yourself. And it takes living for something, it takes understanding that there is something greater than just you trying to take care of your health, or something you trying to take care of your body, or you trying to be better than you are now. It takes something more than that to live, to allow you to separate yourself, to sequester yourself from these poisons, these toxins, these evil. It takes you understanding that you're here for a greater purpose. It's not just about you living for the flesh. It's not just about your goal to be better, your goal to improve, your ambition to be smarter, to be faster, to be stronger, to be more upright. It's not just about self. For many, it's going to take you realizing that you're here for something larger, something grander, something far more majestic, something beyond anything human, anything that a human can conceive, that you're here for a reason well beyond your comprehension, that you were created by an all-powerful, all-loving, wondrous Elohim, who created you in his own image, an image of beauty, perfection, love, joy, healing. Created you to be like him as best we can. And he gave us the instructions to be like him as best we can. Not that we will ever be perfect. We were at one time and we will be again. When we were in Eden, when we were in paradise, we were perfect until our vanity, until our curiosity, until our hubris, until we were misled, and deceived by the serpent, the dragon, the evil whisperers of this world. And we were cast out of Eden. And in the end, Yahuwah Yahusha will bring us back to the kingdom to come, where we will be perfect once again like the angels. But until that time, ever since Cain crushing Abel's skull, we were cast out onto the land, such that the land would no longer bear its fruit to us, and we would have to make our way by the sweat of our brow, and in so doing, allowing ourselves to be deceived and misled constantly by the demons of this world, such that in no longer being able to enjoy the fruits of what Yahuwah had given us, we were misled into believing that now, because we will live by the sweat of our brow, that all the sons of Cain would go out, and the world has been corrupted since then, that we would go out and enjoy the fruits of the flesh if we couldn't have the fruits of Yahuwah's good grace. But he gave us a way back. He gave us the instructions. He gave us the commandments. He gave us the understanding. And in asking for his forgiveness, and asking for his love, and asking for his grace, we will be filled. We are filled like a tidal wave. The moment you confess that Yahuwah Yahusha came in the flesh, that he is your Savior, and that and asking, repenting for all that you've been, all that you've done, because you know, you feel the guilt, you feel the shame, you feel the horror for it all, and you know you can't do it on your own. And you come to Yahweh because you've tried. And for all that you've tried, for all that you've done, all your manipulations, all of the control you try to exert, all of the bending of people and environments and circumstances and variables, you realize it all comes to naught. And even when it goes your way, you get to the top of a mountain, you find you're only at the bottom of another, doomed to ever climb over and over, endless hamster wheel, endless treadmill, constantly searching, constantly seeking for more pleasures of the flesh, for more decadence, depravity, defilement, and debasement, which you never find the answers in. You never find the answers in any of the esteem of man, any of the glory you seek, any of the titles, any of the trophies, any of the money, any of the houses, any of the material that can be constructed by man will never heal the hole in your heart until you come to Yahuwah Yahusha. He floods you with his forgiveness. In repenting and asking for his salvation, instantly he grants it to you. He's beckoning you. He's beckoning you to come to him. And he washes over you with the Ruach, the breath. You are baptized with the breath of Yahuwah, the breath of life, the set-apart spirit, the Ruach, which now lives within you. You are baptized by the set-apart spirit and with fire, such that all of the evil, all of the toxins, all of the poison is purged, is burned, and you are pure once again. Once again, you have a chance. You are revised, reconstructed, refreshed, renewed, reborn in his image once again. And now that light that shines down you, which destroys the darkness, because he is the light of this world, such that the darkness cannot overcome, the darkness cannot fathom, the darkness cannot comprehend. And all the darkness you were stumbling around in no longer, because now you can see, because you're bathed in his light, and you have the light of the Ruach within you that is absolutely bursting forth, healing you from the inside and beaming outwards from you, such that all see that you've been saved, all see your energy, all see your healing, all see your love, all see the dynamism and the robustness and the everlasting life bursting forth from you. And they too realize that, wow, if you can be saved, if you can now be this dynamic, this robust, this energetic, this healed, this in love with Yahuwah Yahusha, then they too can be saved. So you live as an example for your people. And you are grateful for the first time in your life, and you are on your knees every day, thanking him in true gratitude. For the first time you understand what being grateful truly is. It's at your DNA level. You don't have to fake it. You don't have to, like these self-help gurus tell you, turn it into a practice. You must have a gratefulness practice. Every day, write down what you're grateful for. That's BS. That's fake. That's that's fake until you make it. You don't really feel it. You're just writing it down. Not until you experience the salvation of Yahuwah Yahusha. And you realize what he has done for you, and you realize how you've been saved, and you realize that you have peace in your heart, and that you've experienced his healing, his joy, and you know you've received the word. Then you understand what being thankful truly is. You don't have to write anything down. You know. It's at the DNA level. It's at your genetic code level. It's finally expressing itself. on your knees as you're expressing how grateful and thank you are for all that you've received, because now your cup runneth over, where before you were bereft, lonely, hopeless, anxious, frustrated at the iniquity of it all. At every turn you're frustrated. At every turn you seek answers. You get them, and then there's another question behind it. You get to the top of one mountain, you're at the bottom of another. You open one door, another door locked behind it. Constantly this rat race, this hamster wheel, this treadmill that never ends. Nothing, no answers will ever be found in the way of the flesh. But in coming to Yahuwah Yahusha, receiving that salvation, receiving the breath, the Ruach, the set-apart spirit that lives within you now and guides you, receiving that light that shines down on you, comforts you, heals you, that lives within you, bursts forth from you, such that it heals you from the inside and out, and acts as a beacon for all those who see that you're living as an example for them, and that they know now that you're like a searchlight in the fog for the lost ships at sea. They know that, hey, there's where we can go. We can be, absolutely, if you can be saved, if I can be saved, then they can be saved, and they see us in that glory, the glory of Yahuwah Yahusha, the grace of Yahuwah Yahusha. And they know that they have a chance too. But that same light shines now down on the narrow path that leads to the kingdom to come, where we will be once again with Yahuwah Yahusha, will manifest once again in the flesh, living amongst us, where we will have that everlasting life in his reign, where there is no more evil or sin or sadness or hatred or war or misery or decadence, depravity, defilement, debasement. There's no more evil whisperers, no more corrupters, misleaders, deceivers, evildoers, Hashatan, Satan, Lucifer, the Lord of flies, the Lord of filth. Crushed, wiped away. All of the illness and disease, the sadness and the hatred, the evil and the sin, the murder and the death, gone, wiped away. Nothing but everlasting life, everlasting healing, everlasting love, everlasting peace, and everlasting life. His law, his singular commandment, from which all the good commandments spring, from which all understanding springs, from which all revelation spring, such that you receive, your cup runneth over, you're shouting from the rooftop the good news, because now you have more than you could ever imagine, and you have answers to all the questions you've ever had, and the epiphanies come and the revelations come. Every single day you nourish yourself on the good news by contemplating, ruminating the one singular commandment from which all the good things spring, to love Yahuwah with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your fellow man as you love yourself. And when this happens, you're finally able. You're living for something bigger than yourself. You're living as an example for your people. You're living to please Yahuwah Yahusha. You're asking for his guidance to show you how to live your life in a manner that pleases him most. Because when you are right with Yahuwah Yahusha, all is right in your world. Because you're exactly where he needs you to be. You're exactly where you can serve him best. And so you get right with Yahuwah Yahusha. You ask him to show you, to guide you, to direct you. And the Ruach will do so and keep you on this straight and narrow path, because the light will be illuminating that narrow path, and the Ruach will keep you compelled to stay on it. Even if you trip here and there, instantly you'll walk right back, because now you can see it. Just like you can now see all of the toxins and poisons and evil in your life. And now that it's all in stark relief, it's easy to pluck them away. Like the man who sowed the good seed told those who were tending the land, wait until the harvest, because then you'll be able to see the poisonous, evil darnel, the toxic weeds, and you will be able to separate them from the good wheat. And you'll tear it out by the root. You'll cast it into the fire, and all that will be left in his reign is the love and the glory and the prosperity and the joy of his reign. And so too will your life be rid of all of these toxins and these poisons, because now you'll have the light. Now you'll have the word. Let he who hears truly hear, because once you hear, you will never unhear. Once you know, you will never know. You will never not know. And once you see, you will never unsee again. And it will be easy to remove these things from your life. The drugs, the alcohol, the pornography, the laziness, the oversleeping, the staying up late, the partying, the decadence, the depravity, the defilement, the debasement, all the things that hinder you, all the stumbling blocks, they will no longer be masked. They will no longer be able to hide as imposters amongst the good things in your life. They will be in stark relief, such that you will be able, with the help of Yahuwah, Yahusha, to see them, to identify them, and to remove them once and forever. And the beautiful thing is, you won't feel like you're at a loss. You'll feel stronger for it. You'll feel truly enhanced. You'll feel empowered. You'll feel robust and dynamic, and you won't want any of those things any longer. Because you will live. You will live for the beauty and the grace and the love of Yahuwah, Yahusha. That is the light. That is the nourishment. That is the beauty that your heart will seek and want. You won't want any of the poisons anymore because you know how bad it makes you feel. You know how horrible it is for you. You know how it poisons you. And so you reject it now. And all you want is His love. All you want is His light. And all you want to do is, as He says, not just love Yahuwah with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, but to live as an example for your people and love your people as you love yourself.